game over. John Fisher, Dave Kafal, it is game over for your half-assed, pathetic, hopeless attempts to move the Oakland A's to Las Vegas. If you were playing Street Fighter, the countdown screen would have reached 0, and the screen would be black and white, and your sprite would be a beaten, bloody pulp with a look of anguish on his face because you have been forced to leave the arcade cabinet behind, all out of quarters. It is game freaking over, John Fisher, and it couldn't happen to a nicer douche. So here we are, the done deal of the Oakland A's receiving public financing to build a Las Vegas stadium is, well, not done. Much like the binding agreement they signed for the Red Rock site more than a month ago, it just turns out the A's cannot get their shit together and get something over the line when it comes to this relocation effort. It's a startling turn of events. Well, it's not a startling turn of event for me, because I said this wasn't going to happen at the start of May. And it's not a startling turn of events for A's fans who have known all along that John Fisher was incapable of getting anything he wants because he's a clueless prick, a cash poor fool, and a terrible businessman. It does appear to be a surprise for those die-hard Las Vegas homers who wanted to tell me this video isn't aging well. Well, speaking of aging, I take it you're going to delete those comments now? Hi, Sean Tempesta. No, of course they won't. What you're hearing now is a doubling down on a special session being used to get this legislation over the line. However, that also happens to ignore the fact the entire point of waiting this long to submit a bill, the entire point of John Fisher and Dave Kafal waiting this long to take any movement on the relocation was to push through this legislation with as little oversight, with as little information, and with little input from the public as possible. This legislation the A's want, it is a rotting fish carcass. And if you misguidedly assume that this fish carcass sitting out longer is somehow good for its chances of being approved by the state legislature, you, my friend, are clueless. This deal the A's wanted to push through, it stinks. The longer this legislation, the longer the A's deal sits out there in the open, just collecting sunlight and just the stench getting worse and worse and worse. It is bad news. This deal was already struggling to get over the line. Some had called it a 50-50 on it gaining approval, and the more time people have to look at it and the more time people have to consider its benefits, it's only going to look worse. That special session, even if it does happen in Nevada, there is a very real possibility that either the A's funding bill doesn't get brought up or it gets killed right then and there. Meanwhile, A's owner John Fisher and his lackey Dave Kafal, well, they're out of gas, out of road, out of car. I don't really know where they're going to go. No one at this point in time is going to trust them to do anything. They can try to go back to Oakland and maybe they make it work, but it seems highly unlikely. Vegas seems like it's dead on arrival there. There's just no way that they're going to get a third proposal. I mean, is that it? Is that the plan? They're going to try to work another proposal? They've burned bridges in Oakland. Why would any other city want to work with these pair of knuckleheads? Quite frankly, I think the answer is no one will. And they're going to find that there is no city in America, in Canada, in Mexico, wherever that is interested in hearing their hat in hand spiel about how they need public funding for a stadium. It's already failed once. They really just dropped the ball in Oakland when that deal could have been over the line by now had they actually negotiated in good faith. Fisher, Kafal, untrustworthy, and they aren't finding any other partners anywhere. And that brings us to another very important question. What is next for the Oakland A's? It looks like it is open season on selling the team. There were some talk about how prospective buyers were letting the situation in Vegas play out. before making their intentions public. Well, the situation in Vegas has pretty much played out, and the A's do not seem to be heading there. And that means those prospective owners, and hopefully one's in Oakland or one's committed to building a stadium without public financing at the very least, can start moving forward with their bids for the Oakland A's. Because right now, there is no conceivable way John Fisher holds on to this team, because no one, and I mean no one, is helping him finance a stadium. What this does mean is that ownership groups and stadium plans will be a package deal. Whoever buys the Oakland A's has to have a stadium plan ready to go. Maybe not shovels in the ground ready to go, but there needs to be a comprehensive plan, an actionable plan that includes everything from how everything is going to be paid for, where it's going to be located, site, all that good stuff. It needs to be in there. This now brings us to the question of where. Personally, I would like the A's to remain in Oakland. I think what we have seen throughout this entire process is Oakland has shown us that they love the A's, but they are not going to be conned by some bullshit that John Fisher is pulling. Attendance may be low, but blaming fans for low attendance after what they have been put through is the laziest, most crackpot argument you can possibly make. However, this also means it is vital for the city government of Oakland and local officials to get their act together. Find who's going to buy the team. Is it going to be the Warriors ownership group? Is it going to be someone else with local ties to the community? You need to get that ownership group put into place and make sure the funding is there. And then you need to make sure the stadium plan is ready to go. I think we all know Howard Terminal is a lot closer than the A's ever gave them credit for. So if it is Howard Terminal, move that across the line. And if it's not Howard Terminal, whatever the plan is, get it to the point where it is ready to go, that once Fisher sells the team, and he's going to have to sell the team, that work can begin in earnest. Of course, I'm also a bit of a realist here. If Oakland cannot do that, and they should be given the right to do that, make no mistake, but there's also a chance something goes wrong, or owners don't step up, or a potential ownership group doesn't step up. What then for the Oakland A's? I keep hearing there's murmurings of Sacramento. I don't think Sacramento's a good fit for the A's. You know, growing up in Sacramento, having gone to Raleigh Field to see River Cats games, Sacramento's not an A's city. Like, it is very much Giants country. And really, there's something off-putting about the A's just moving 90 minutes up the road to Sacramento that I think would sit unpleasant with a lot of people. But it is one potential solution. Another potential solution that has been floated is Portland. On the surface, I think Portland really embodies the sort of outlaw A's mentality that the franchise has always had. It's also important to note that Oregon as a whole, some people assume it's Mariners country, and while the Mariners do have some fans in Oregon, Oregon is not dead set loyal to the Mariners. There is room for a team in Portland, and I think as we've seen with the Timbers, and as we see with the Blazers, Oregon loves its teams, and I think they would love the A's. There's also the possibility that a new ownership group steps up in Las Vegas, buys the A's, comes up with an actual stadium proposal that's not a sack of potatoes, and puts that all together. I wouldn't be opposed to that outright. People assumed that I was against Las Vegas having the A's. I am very much a realist here. The issue wasn't Las Vegas didn't deserve the A's. It was John Fisher was trying to do something really, really shitty, and that needs to be blocked. Las Vegas could be a fine baseball market, and if they get a team, I will be wholly supportive of that. If someone in Vegas buys the A's and comes up with an actual good stadium and an actual plan, I wouldn't necessarily be negative against that as well. What I am negative against is John Fisher and a quote unquote billionaire and his lackeys being unable to do right by a city and give Oakland a fair chance. Now it is game over for John Fisher. There is no alternative. There is no way he is getting himself out of this jam. It's done. It's over. Curtains on John Fisher. It's time for you to sell the team. The hope I have here now is that Oakland gets a fair shot to put together a comprehensive ownership bid and to get a potential stadium figured out in the city. If Oakland can match any offer that anyone else makes, and they have that, and hopefully I really hope it's Howard Terminal, but if it's another site, so be it. But if they get that to the point where it's ready to be built, then by all means, the A's should stay in Oakland. However, if for whatever reason that doesn't happen, then yeah, I think the A's do have to consider moving. Like I said this a month ago, and I'll say it today. I love the Coliseum. I wish the Coliseum would be around forever because I think it is the most underrated place to watch a baseball game. I loved going to Raiders games there. It is an awesome venue, but it's not for modern sports. So the A's can't keep playing there. And if the franchise does need to move, so be it, but give Oakland a shot to keep them. Give them the shot to find an ownership group and a stadium proposal. Today, though, it's a day to celebrate. John Fisher could not bully his way, could not cajole his way into getting what he wants. And John Fisher, I have a special message from you from one Randy Marsh.
Oh, hey, fuck you. Oh, hey, fuck you. Oh, hey, fuck you. Hey, fuck you. Oh, hey, fuck you.